Hi there, and in this lecture, what we're going to do is start to build our bookstore program. Specifically, we're going to work on the graphical user interface. Because, this program has two parts, so to say. So it has a backend and it has a frontend. The backend is the SQLite3 database code, so the code that interacts with the database. And the front end is the code of the Tkinter library. So the code that builds up all these buttons, these entries, this text, and this list box, and this scroll bar. So normally you'd have to choose whether you want to work on the backend code first or you want to start building the front end code. But first of all, though, the very first thing you want to do is actually to start defining some requirements. So you want to say what your program will do. So let's say you want your program to show a list of the current records. So when you press view all, you see the list of records here. And then you want your program to search a current entry, and then you want to add entry and update and select data. And then you want your program to close the window. So basically these are our requirements. And now you can choose to start writing the backend. So you could write a function that selects all the data from the database, and then you could return those data as text. So you can just print them out just for now if you want to write the backend first, because you don't have the front end, you don't have the graphical user interface built yet. So you can just write functions of the backend and then print out the output. Or you can start writing the front end first, so you build this graphical user interface, but when you click those buttons, nothing happens. So you just draw this thing with Python. And then once you have done that, you start building the backend, and then you connect all these widgets and all the commands of these buttons with your backend functions. So it's a matter of preference whether you choose to work with the backend or the front end first. In this course, in this section, we're going to build the front end first. So we're going to build a graphical user interface that will do nothing for a while until we connect it with the backend. Alright then, I would like to first remove this vertical bar here because I'm going to draw the graphical user interface here. So I'm going to make a sketch for you to see and to have the sketch in here all the time. So to remove this bar, if you're curious, you can just go to settings. Then there is a package that actually shows that bar that's called wrap guide. And you want to display, so this displays a line of the 80th character in the editor, and that may help you, if you want, may help you to keep a particular pattern. So you don't want to have more than 80 characters in your code, so that bar helps you keep that rule. Anyway, we don't want that, so I just removed it. And I'm just going to write a few notes inside the doc string. So you know that a doc string is like a comment line. So if you put anything inside these triple quotes, this is not read as code by Python, but it's just like a documentation string. So just for humans to read. So let's say I want a program that stores this book information. So title and author, year, and ISBN, so the identification number for books. And the user can view all records, they can search an entry and add an entry, update an entry, delete, and they can close the program if they want. Close. Great. So if you start thinking about that, now you'd want to have a graphical user interface that has all these buttons, so that the user can do these actions through some buttons. And then you think about how they can view records, and you know that Tkinter has the list box widget that allows you to display text as a list, so line by line. And then you want the user to search an entry, add an entry, update entry. So you need some entry widgets. And then of course you'd want some labels that can tell what each entry is about. So that would be a label widget. And you may also want a scroll bar so that your list is scrollable. So if there are many records, the user can scroll through them and they can see the records under the list. And so we've got a sketch. This of course requires some fantasy and maybe some experience with user interface designing. But it's very important that you have a sketch. So I'm going to keep this sketch on the screen while I code the program. Normally in real life you'd want to have a drawing, maybe on a real paper or just on a digital screen. But it's important to have it, and now that we have it, let's start building it in the next lecture.